Don't worry when you are not recognized, but strive to be worthy of recognition. Don't work for recognition, but do work worthy of recognition. That's by Jackson Brown, Jr.
Don't worry when you are not recognized. Don't work for recognition. Words on marble. That was at the 2022 Reward, Recognition and Awards ceremony organized by the FIRS in Abuja just this last Thursday, the 28th of September 2023. Of course, even if one works very hard without seeking recognition, it still does feel very good when one is recognized, and so it was for the 118 men and women and tax officers singled out for recognition for their contribution to the performance of the Federal Inland Revenue Service in the year 2022, a performance that has been widely adjudged as superlative. The story of that ceremony is part of the menu on today's episode of Tax Matters. But you see, there is what is called cause and effect. How did the performance come to be? Of course, one will readily answer that it was due to the sterling contributions of these men and women, but then it can be further argued that these men and women were able to excel because of the measures put in place by management for the fulfillment of the mandate of the service. A few episodes ago, we began a series on the fruits of reform at the FIRS. The interviews in that package were conducted in the year 2022 before the current dispensation at the federal level and at the FIRS. But the views expressed by the respondents nonetheless still ring true today as they did when the interviews were conducted, just as they key in quite rightly into the circumstances that led to the success achieved in 2022. Mr. Kabir Abra is the Coordinating Director, General Tax Operations Group at the FIRS. What role does the FIRS play in providing revenue for the Nigerian government? And by your assessment, how well has the FIRS played this role?
You see, FIRS is the only agency mandated to collect revenues accruable to the federal government. And we do that, based on legislation done by the National Assembly, and of course policy guidelines as provided by the Federal Ministry of Finance. So our role is very critical because we are the ones that actually provide revenue for government to do its business. And over time, we have been dependent so much on oil revenues. But with the legislation that was enacted by the National Assembly, which now gives us the mandate to collect these taxes, as in the petroleum profit tax, the company's income tax, value-added tax, the education tax, technology tax. We even have two new that has come on board through the Finance Act that was recently passed into law. That is the Nigeria Police Trust Fund and the NASENI, levies that has been paid. So we are saddled with all this responsibility because taxation remains, of course, the sustainable tool for any economic growth and development in any country. And of course, the federal government has put in place what we call the Strategic Revenue Growth Initiative, which is a policy guideline on how to sustain revenues coming into the country. So our role is very critical. We have been sustaining and providing, the funds to the government, to do its businesses. And you can see even from the records for this year, I can tell you that FIRS contributed over 60% of the monies that have been shared at the Federal Accounts and Allocations Committee. And this is still counting compared to what it was some 5-10 years ago, because we have not changed the narratives in the sense that we were a dependent oil nation in the past. But as I speak to you now, the government depends more on the non-oil revenues. 2021, FIRS collected 6.4 trillion naira, which was unprecedented. And the interesting thing is that amongst these monies, 75% of it is coming from the non-oil. of the taxes we collected last year.
Of course, in the year 2022, the FIRS broke its own record by raking in a whopping sum of 10.1 trillion naira. At the core of the rising performance is the deployment of technology across board in tax administration at the FIRS level. In the year 2021, the FIRS established new departments. One of them is the Intelligence Strategic Data Mining and Analysis Department. Mr. Kola Okunla is the director in charge of that department. Mr. Okunla, thank you for joining us on Tax Matters.
Thank you for having me.
Let us begin by asking you what gave rise to the creation or establishment of this department, and when was it created?
The department was created in May 2021, and what led to the creation of the department was by reviewing our historical records and doing trend analysis, analyzing the tax payment trend and payment record vis-a-vis the gross domestic product and the transactions in the economy. We discovered a huge gap in the transactions, the tax payment vis-a-vis the gross domestic product and also the economic activities, which is indicated through the financial transactions. So also, it is a well-known fact that Nigeria has one of the lowest GDP rates in the world. And of course, it's not a problem for somebody to have problem, as long as you are willing to solve the problem. So this is the problem definition. We have seen that we have this challenge of low tax to GDP ratio. The GDP is an indicator of the overall economic activities in any country. And how can we bridge this gap? The way to bridge this gap is through knowledge. We need to know what is happening. And the way for us to know what is happening is by using data. We have been using data for tax analysis all along. But this is the first time that a department that is fully dedicated to data analysis using modern techniques such as machine learning, big data analytics, predictive analytics, and other artificial intelligence techniques to analyze huge amount of data and to bring out actionable intelligence.
Interesting. What would you say is the core mandate of this department?
The core mandate of the Intelligence, Strategic Data Mining and Analysis Department is to provide actionable insights on taxpayers and the tax payments. So, and also to make FIRS, the Federal Inland Revenue Service, a data-centric organization.
So how are you going about in the actualization of this mandate?
The starting point, as the saying goes, knowledge is power. We started by building the capacity, training and capacity building, building the capacity of the staff, making them to learn the latest techniques in data analysis. We also identified staff that have the foundational knowledge and acumen to be able to understand data mining and analysis. That's people that have who are numerate. Before you can do data analysis, you have to have fundamental talent in numbers, putting numbers together in numeracy. So that's the foundation. So the starting point was we started by training and building the capacity of the staff, after which we commenced the process of aggregating the data, getting historical data and current data.
All right. Now, so I would like to know which agencies or bodies, whether governmental or private, you collaborate with in the course of your work, especially with regards to data gathering?
The law has given the powers to different agencies to obtain data, specific data, in order to perform their duties. The same applies to the Federal Inland Revenue Service and also to other regulatory agencies. So we collaborate with sister agencies, other regulatory agencies to exchange data. We also made life easier for taxpayers. Let me give you a typical example. Before the advent of the FIRS CAC integration, a taxpayer, a company will have to get CAC certificate, register with CAC, get their RC number. They have to come back to FIRS, go to bank, pay stamp duty in order to get, then they come back to FIRS after getting their certificate, CAC certificate, to FIRS to get TIN, register for TIN again. But as of today, if a new company is registered, the taxpayer identification number is automatically generated and appended on the taxpayer's certificate of incorporation. So they don't need to go to multiple agencies in order to get their tax identification number. So that's one other area of the beauty of interagency collaboration.
That's commendable. So what do you do with this data you gather?
As the saying goes, follow the money. What we do is, from the data that we get, it helps us to know where to focus our attention. It helps us as the Federal Inland Revenue Service to become more efficient in order to broaden the tax net. Because it's even to the advantage of taxpayers. When we broaden the tax net, we will not continue to harass those taxpayers that are already complying, trying to squeeze more out of them. Rather, we now spread the net, cast out our net, and look for taxpayers who have not been compliant, who have not been paying, or who have been underpaying. So there will be less pressure on compliant taxpayers, because now the we try to widen the tax net and expand the tax base. So this is one of the strategies that we adopt.
What is the rate of companies' income tax in Nigeria? Nigeria operates a multiple regime of companies' income tax rates for limited liability companies based on turnover. Companies with turnover below 25 million naira pay companies' income tax at 0%. Companies with turnover between 25 million naira and 100 million naira pay companies' income tax at 20%, while companies with turnover above 100 million naira pay at the rate of 30%. Companies' income tax is due 6 months after the end of a company's 12-month accounting year. Back to Mr. Abba. Now, sir, are there new areas the FIRS is tapping into with the aim of enhancing the tax revenue potentials at national and subnational levels?
Yes. You see, the tax administration we do in Nigeria is the 3 tiers of government actually, do tax administration in Nigeria. That's the federal, the states, and the local governments. We're talking about the FIRS, the State Inland Revenue Services, and the Revenue Authority. And of course, they all come under one umbrella, which we call the Joint Tax Board.
Okay.
And the Joint Tax Board, of course, is chaired by the chairman of the FIRS, who are working, together. And FIRS is expected to register all corporate taxpayers using the TIN. So there are new areas we actually tap in to actually show up revenue potentials at the both national and the subnational level, because that Joint Tax Board is now harmonizing, data for the benefit of all. We're collaborating with all the states' internal revenue service of the 36 states and the FCT with the FIRS. We share information, we share data. We also do some joint sensitizations and even audits together. This is a new area that is helping us, to get more revenues at the national and also at the sub-national, level. Another area which is not really new, because the Finance Act, the tax laws, and processes are being reviewed through the Finance Act. And of course, FIRS is now given the powers to automate VAT operations. So we have now been given the powers by the laws to automate this type of tax. And that is really new, and we've started with some sectors. We have started with the hospitality industry and the hotels. We're also automating the oil and gas sector. So we're going to do it sector by sector. This is really new, and by the time we finish automating, all the sectors, I can assure you that yes, revenues will continue to flow in, for government. And we are also embarking on what I can call the VAT and withholding tax monitoring exercise across the country. We just, randomly select some taxpayers to go to them to appreciate those who are paying correctly, and at the same time, to see if there are gaps, to educate them and make them pay whatever the difference is from there. It's a new area. This exercise is currently going on, across the country. So another new area is that we have now noticed that, we have a lot of potentials in terms of revenue collections in the country. And we have now decided to do what we call satellite offices, because some of these offices are, very not too close to most of the taxpayers. So we have now opened what we call satellite offices, about 23 in number. We'll put some number of staff there, to help address, taxpayers that may find it difficult to go to the closest taxpayers to them. Because if you check out the Nigerian tax system, it preaches that we should be fair, equitable, it should be flexible with low compliance level. So we don't want a situation where our taxpayers have to travel miles or kilometers to go and file. So we have now decided to open satellite offices closer, to those taxpayers, and we also encourage them to use the platform, the automated platforms. So you don't even need to come to our office premises to do your tax things.
Still on technology, still on innovation.
If you have noticed, the Finance Act of 2020, Section 25 to be precise, where FIRS is given the powers, of course, to connect to systems of these taxpayers and their digital information to get informations about them. And of course, after 30 days of such notice, if the taxpayer does not comply, there's even a sanction of 25,000 naira daily for failure to do so. So automation has really helped us. So FIRS has actually automated all its processes as I speak to you. But I think it also suffices to add this. You see, we now recognize our most compliant taxpayers as we speak now. So they've been recognized on a yearly basis based on the quantum of taxes they have paid, based on the compliance level, and even timely filing, such tax returns and payment. Because even in-house, to boost our staff morale, we have now done what to call the awards, for outstanding staff and offices. This has usually boosted their morals. Promotions have been gotten now as at when due. So these award ceremonies, assist to boost the morale of the staff.
Recognition and award. The clips you saw over that part of the interview were from the 2021 awards held in 2022, which leads us to the story of the 2022 awards held just the other week in Abuja. Mr. Chiamaka is the Coordinating Director, General Services Group at the FIRS.
We are gathered to celebrate the success of achievements of our offices and colleagues, whose resolve and relentless commitment saw the service achieve a commendable feat in the year 2020.
The awards to be presented today are not just for recognizing staff who performed exceptionally well in their various endeavors, but also to consolidate on the gains made in 2022 and to motivate us to do even better in the remaining part of 2023.
Mr. M.L. Abubakar, the Coordinating Director, Executive Chairman's Group, represented the Acting Executive Chairman FIRS.
This occasion exemplifies management's commitment to lead a motivated workforce and to recognize the exceptional contribution made by our staff in the past year. We are here to honor and reward the dedication of our deserving staff for their pivotal role in achieving our ambitious 2022 targets.
A total of 118 staff and offices representing every function of the service are being honored today for their exceptional contribution during the period under review. I'm profoundly moved by your unwavering dedication, which not only propelled the service to cross the 10 trillion naira mark, but also position us even greater success this year.
Now to the awards.
The first category of the award will be the Executive Chairman's Award. And the awardee for this category will be Mr. Kasim Ismail. The next category of award will be the Best Director Award. And the awardee is Mr. Iro Nachi Opai. The next category of award will be the Best State Coordinator Award. The performance of 93.22%. And that will be going to Kebbi, Sokoto, and Zamfara State Coordination. The next category will be the Extraordinary Delivery from Examination of Accounts Award. And the awardee will be MSTO Chiamaka. Then the next category will be Extraordinary Response to December Final Push. The awardee will be Medium Tax Office, Kano. The next category that he will take will be Tax Office of the Year Award. Abuja Stamp Duty Office, 222% collection. Kano MTO with 123.63%. LTO Oil and Gas Upstream, they performed 106% collection.
In the category of Best Performing Department,
We'll begin with the Communications and Liaison Department. And the awardee will be Mr. Peter Aino Amone. Congratulations, management appreciate their contribution to our achievement.
as you can see, the awards are for individual and group achievements and by extension, service-wide achievement in the year 2022. We congratulate the men and women and the tax offices that got rewarded for their contributions to the success achieved by the FIRS in 2022. 2024 is another date for 2023 awardees. We enjoin all members of staff to rise to the occasion. We conclude with this final one from Mr. Kabiu Abba. Could you please share with us some of the various ways in which tax revenue has been or is being utilized for national development?
Our own mandate is to assess, collect, and account and remit to the federal government for it to be shared. But let me just give you an example of one of the taxes that we collect, which is the education tax, of which we do that on behalf of, the TED Fund. If you go to our tertiary institutions across the country, you will visibly see where taxpayers' money is working. And don't forget that at the Federal Accounts and Allocations Committee, FIRS provides over 60% of the monies that have been shared there. And these monies are shared between the federal, the states, and the local governments, of which is what the state governors use, in providing infrastructure, paying salaries in addition to their own internally generated revenue. So taxpayers' monies are really working in the system because that is the only source of income for the country. So all these monies that we collect on behalf of these taxpayers are kind of a social contract between the government, the taxpayers, the tax users, and people even handling the taxes, the collection of the taxes. So collectively, you can all see these things visibly. So if taxpayers can be more, more professional in their tax dealings, come to voluntarily declare and pay, more revenues will accrue to government. And of course, that money will be used, of course, to tackle the insecurity, to provide the necessary infrastructure and all that. Because there are some countries that solely depend on, on revenue, in fact, worldwide. So Nigeria is not an exception.
We do hope that we have further enlightened and educated you on the workings of the Nigerian tax system on this episode. Let's do this again next week. Same station, same day of the week, and same time of the day. See you next week.